Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you didn't know, my name is Chef D, and today we are learning how to make a Spanish style tomato bread. Now, my tomato bread is going to be a little bit different. I'm definitely going to be adding some other elements. When I used to work in Barcelona and San Juan de Espí at a hotel restaurant, pretty much I was learned how to make pan con tomate español, and that's pretty much a baguette sliced, toasted, and you literally rub garlic and rub tomato literally on top of the bread, and that is your pan con tomate. We're gonna be doing something a little bit different. It's so good, it's so simple, it's so fresh, it's crunchy, it's fresh, it's cheesy. So, you know, I'm here to spread the love. So I've had this for breakfast, I've had this for lunch, and I've also had this for dinner. So, I mean, this is really an all-around recipe. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video of the week. Please don't forget to give your girl a big like, a big share, and a big subscribe because it does help out the channel. So guys, I will see you next week with a brand new video. Ciao! Gathering up all my simple and basic ingredients to get started with this delicious recipe. Now, first of all, we're going to be starting off with slicing our bread. Now, this can definitely be horizontal, diagonally, and preferably how I love to cut the bread is either 1 inch thick or 1/2 inch thick. This really just depends on how thick you like the bread. Personally, I love it a little bit thicker, so I'm gonna go for 1 inch in this video. Place your sliced bread onto your cookie sheet or baking sheet, and we're just gonna set this aside because we need to start cutting up our mozzarella. As you'll notice, I did put a paper towel on my kitchen board because I just want to make sure that our mozzarella has no liquid or no moisture at all. The last thing we want to do is have like that fresh liquidy mozzarella and it literally go all over, like the wateriness from the brine to go all over our tomato and garlic mix and baguettes. So please stick with a low moisture mozzarella, or if it's a dry mozzarella like I'm using, just make sure it has no extra liquid or any brine. For this recipe, I did use 9 ounces of this cheese and I am cutting it into thin slices. Now, this is just a preference of mine. If you do like it more cheesy and you want a thicker form of cheese, then just go ahead and slice it the way you like. For the tomato and garlic mix, I will be using my food processor, but you can definitely use your NutriBullet, your food chopper. This is honestly my preferred method because it's just so much easier and so much more convenient than rather chopping and chopping and chopping until everything is finely diced. So right here, we're using 2 large garlic cloves. But if you are a garlic lover, then go ahead and use 3 cloves of garlic. Preferably my option is 2 large garlic cloves because I don't want the garlic to overwhelm the tomato taste. Pulse the garlic until it is finely minced. Now, the reason I do this before adding the tomatoes or just mixing both of them together and pulsing, it is because the garlic does take more time to pulse and more power to mince. And the last thing I want to do is add both of the ingredients and have the garlic be really, really thick and the tomato a puree. So this is why we want to do the garlic first, mincing, and then we'll get started on the tomatoes. As you see right here, I am slicing my tomatoes in half. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's just much easier for our food processor or food chopper and even NutriBullet to just get everything more diced and more, I would say, a precise way instead of just adding the whole tomato in there. Add in your sliced ripe vine tomatoes into that food processor and let's pulse/blend for a couple of seconds. We want the tomato to be chunky and diced, so I highly recommend to not overdo it when you're blending or pulsing, because the last thing that we want for this recipe is for this to turn into a puree. So I would say go really slow, really precise, and just make sure that we are not pureeing. Think about it like a chunky Mexican salsa. That's kind of like the theme that we're going for in here. So no over pulsing. And let's place our garlic and tomato mix in that small bowl. And obviously, let's keep the spoon available because we will be using that a little bit later on in the video. For our oven, we are going to need to position our oven rack a few inches below our broiler. Now, let's turn on the broiler on a low setting and let's get started seasoning our bread. Start off by drizzling the top side of the bread with olive oil and seasoning it with ground black pepper and salt. Now, you can definitely use the ground black pepper you have, but I highly recommend freshly ground black pepper. That really just makes a difference. And for this recipe, I am using sea salt because it's just such a great flavor, but you can definitely use the salt and black pepper you have. Place inside your broiler and toast until golden brown. But just a little tip, please keep an eye on the bread as it tends to burn quickly under the broiler. And usually this just takes me 1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes for this really to get nice and golden brown depending on your oven. Once your bread is toasted, place it onto that countertop because we're going to be adding in that tomato and garlic mix. Now, my preference for this recipe is 2 to 3 spoonfuls of this mix onto the bread. But because I am sharing this recipe with you, now this is your recipe, of course, you can definitely add more if you'd like. So, 4 spoonfuls if you like it real thick. If you don't like a lot of that mix, then just definitely 1 spoon is completely fine. But right now, this is really up to your liking. Like you see, I like it more on the thicker side because it definitely just adds that wow factor when you serve it. Last but not least, we're adding in our sliced mozzarella. The same thing goes for here. If you want a little bit of more mozzarella, just add it and slice it a little bit thicker. And that's pretty much all we're going to need for this recipe. Optional, again, I am adding a little bit of more ground black pepper on top. I definitely recommend this last step, but this is optional. Place it back into your broiler and let's broil this for 6 to 7 minutes or until the cheese is nice and bubbly and melted. Please keep an eye on this. Remember guys, when you broil anything, you really got to keep an eye on it because this is just a fast cooking method, a fire method. So let's keep an eye on it. Like you'll see in the video, it's already bubbling and it's already melting. And this is exactly what we're looking for. A nice and beautiful tomate con pan y queso. This is just one of those amazing recipes that you can have for any time of the day, especially at dinner where you could have this with a bit of wine, a bit of Jamon Serrano, or maybe some Prosciutto. Really depends on your preference. So guys, I hope you enjoy this week's video of this amazing recipe. And if you guys want to see something specific, let me know down in the comment below and I would love to make it. Hope you have a great evening, a great night, or a great morning, and I will see you next week with a brand new video.